the first conversation is the kind of people typically ask seminal questions at the end. I do ask them in the beginning only. So I think this is the question that everybody wants to hear. What is a good product manager? क्या होता है? मतलब ये जो बात आजकल बहुत मार्केट में होती है कि अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, a good product manager means this, that, interacts with the business, etc. What according to you is a good product manager? And kind of extending that conversation is that what are the core principles of a good operator? Right? How does an operator, by operator, I don't necessarily mean a product manager, but it might be a marketing manager also, it might be somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. It's almost like a philosophical question, right? I mean, to some extent. And see, I mean, and when I started out, especially after being a consultant and doing some bit of portfolio planning. Then when I moved over, I just happened to be at Nokia, and it just happened to be taking on a role of the PM for sort of Maps. And Maps was new. Product management was not a defined role at that time, right? And now I think it's become a lot. I guess it's whether it has become clear or not is debatable, but it is definitely become a lot more aspirational, right? Now, when you say what is a good product manager, it's actually, I keep wondering when people reach out to me and saying, "Arey, मेरे को PM बनना है," and मैं पूछता हूँ क्यों बनना है? So and they sort of like, their answers and the choice of sort of thought process, and that perhaps is true for anything you choose, whether it is product management or otherwise. And see, there are some core capabilities when you think about like how do you be good at any role, right? There has to be a certain level of aptitude, and there has to be the right attitude, right? And if you have these two things, right, you can perhaps master any role, whether it is product management or anything else. Now, you will see a lot of charts where, say, product management sits in between design, product, analytics, marketing, is the CEO of a product, a business, customer. But ultimately, like you said, right, these are like this attitude and aptitude parts and the curiosity. These are general sort of requirements to be successful. Forget being a professional, right? In life, right? And as you grow a little older, it probably hits you and one understands it a lot more. But these are the principles you carry forward regardless of it's your personal life or your professional life, whether you're a product manager or whether you're not or you're in a different role. Now, what's important is when you speak to somebody, you almost understand or try to put yourself in their shoes and try to understand what they are actually saying. Listen or read between the lines, right? So, a good professional is able to extract that, right? That insight, that we call that empathy, right? So, how do you put yourself in that other person's shoes and know what he or she is trying to look for? And how do you converge your aspirations on what you want to do with the outcomes that they are seeking, right? That is perhaps required. I'll give you a good example, right? Like I was negotiating something for, in a non-product way for somebody like a friend, like a deal to close a house, right? Or rather, it was renting this place, right? And and there was no connect between the two. One guy wanted one thing, the other guy wanted another thing. So what I did was I just spent time with my friend, and I asked him, look, what are the things that you want? Then I spent separately time with that person who has the property, and I said, look, I mean, I want this, right? Now, what is it that you seek by which you can give me this, right? So it's almost the art and skill of negotiation by putting yourself in the shoes of the person you are sort of speaking, being empathetic and compassionate to their needs, and solving a problem in a way that is analytical. So it's sort of you're able to derive logic to it. You're able to say, do step one, step two, step three. So that steps are need to be replicated in sort of a like a platform that you code, whether it is the backend systems or like a front end sort of experience in an app. And then you sort of keep looking at, look, is it driving a certain outcome for a specific customer? If not, you keep refining it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the essence of just so happens that the stakeholders here happen to be, the people who build this
Yeah.
or write that code, and the people who bring in, the requirements, and the customer himself. So you constantly refine and take feedback, but the stakeholders tend to be different. These principles apply to any role at any stage of your career. Early stages, you tend to take smaller problems,
Yeah.
and you have a defined scope. As you grow in your career, you take wider problems and perhaps deeper problems. Once you come to a certain stage of a career, you take organizational wide problems, but the core principles in the framework remain. So the foundations of what one learns, and if we get these foundational aspects right, I think one can be successful as a PM, as an engineer who doesn't have any background in engineering, as a business professional who wants to build a startup or an entrepreneur, as anybody, right? So I think that would be my sort of a long drawn response to a simple question that you asked.
The funny part was it wasn't simple and you did realize it. But yeah, but I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you kind of spoke about.